Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So just a few things very quickly before I get into it. If you're a familiar viewer of this channel, you're probably going to think, oh, that looks like a different background and a different desk that I've got the cards on, and you'd be right. I've just moved home, and as part of that, I decided to change the desk that I would use to do readings going forward and get one that's a sit-stand desk so that I can look after my back when I'm doing a lot of readings. And it's got a different sort of texture and a different background. And I'm still working out, to be honest, the lighting here. I've only just moved in. So apologies if the lighting or the picture quality isn't as sharp as last time. I'll see what I can do over time with that, but I'm not very techie. But I think at least, you can see the cards and so forth. That's the main thing. Now, I have actually filmed quite a few picker cards that are going to sort of be published over the next couple of months from before I moved. So you're going to sort of see this background sometimes and the old background sometimes, but eventually you won't see the old background anymore if you're watching this at the time that I've started filming. So this is it going forward. But as I say, if I can work out anything a little bit better around lighting, I will, but apologies for how it's coming across at the moment. So I didn't want to hold off on doing some readings. It's a while since I've done some picker cards because of the move, so I really wanted to get into it. So I hope you can bear with me on that. So moving into this particular picker card. So this is looking at how you are making an art of your life. And what I mean by that is where your unique qualities, your skills, your ambitions, your dreams, how they sort of constellate for something that is almost like life as an art form. And the inspiration for doing this was I just recently received the deck that I backed on Kickstarter, another of Danilo Sonino's wonderful decks, this time Tarot on Canvas. So you see 3 of the major arcana cards there. So we'll be using that deck as a tarot deck for the reading. It's a really unique and interesting deck. The major arcana are all based on famous paintings or artworks. So very, very clever. Danilo has sort of gone through and curated those and worked out which ones would sort of fit with the archetypes of the major arcana, and I think done it in a very clever way. And so I thought, what better topic to do if we're actually going to be looking at how to use this deck and showcase it than to focus on the art of life and the art that you bring and what is unique. So that's what we're going to be doing with that. We'll look at it on a number of aspects and how you can use that kind of artistic, poetic way of looking at life to heal, empower, focus your energy, and who or what could you become out of that. So that's the reading for today. So 3 piles to choose from, as always. What I did ask Spirit for was I shuffled and I said the first 3 major arcana cards that I deal out will be for the piles respectively, to give a bit of an idea about where this art form energy might be. And some very interesting cards came out, I have to say. So see what you're drawn to. Of course, you can go to more than one if you want. That's completely up to you. But for pile number 1, we have the Tower. For pile number 2, we have death. So people know, of course, death is not about literal death. It's about change and choice. And for pile number 3, we have the chariot. So it may be that the imagery, the archetypes may draw you, or you might always go to pile 2 or whatever it might be. Whatever works for you is fine. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I'll have the timestamps as always in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Tower. Very interesting, actually, with the different cards that we've got here. So I've got some sort of colour energy and also a kind of wild card to get a bit of an idea about what's going on. And the thing that really struck me about this Tower imagery is that Danilo has used the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So I don't know whether this is actually an artwork or whether he is depicting it as a sculpture. I'm not really sure. But either way, using it as a tower. But the interesting thing about the Leaning Tower of Pisa is that unlike the traditional archetype of the tower where it is falling, the Leaning Tower of Pisa doesn't fall. And I think this might be part of this. I mean, certainly you may have been drawn to this reading because you might be a change agent. You might be someone who deals with tower moments and all those things very well. And that's a very powerful thing. So if that's the case, and that's certainly you can make out of your life and art form to go through major change and so forth, and as a result of that, bring in new and wonderful things. You might be a bit of an iconoclast, sort of artistically. I'm thinking like someone like an Andy Warhol who came along and did something so different with his pop art that it sort of like pushed the needle. All of that could very much be part of the archetype. Or as I say, you may deal with change in a way that most people can't. That could all be there. But the thing that interests me is that the wild card we have here is time to choose. Crossroads, indecision, planning, proposal. One of the things that does strike me is because the death card is for pile 2, some of you may benefit by going to that pile as well if you feel drawn to it. Don't force yourself if you don't, but the death card is a choice card, and there seems to be a lot about choice. And what I sort of felt when I put this down was the thing about the Leaning Tower of Pisa, as I say, is it doesn't fall, but it veers to one side and it could potentially veer to the other side. So I think that you may be someone who can keep a lot of options open, and you could make choices and travel and journey and think about it, which energy is coming up there with Iris to try something out. But you could always course correct if you need to. You can kind of keep things in balance, but you're able to sort of plan, move forward, and then change if you need to. The interesting thing, we've got two color cards that are kind of in the spectrum, partly with the plum with pink connecting to purple, a little bit of kind of what I would say is heart energy as well as crown chakra. But with Iris, that's kind of connection of the crown chakra to the throat chakra. So there's something about communicating with the heart, communicating a message, helping people choose. You may be someone actually who helps people choose. You could be someone who makes an art form of, being an arbitrator or arbiter, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, or a negotiator or a mediator or something like that. But I also feel for some of you, you're kind of like, one of your brilliant attributes, one of the things that really makes your life an art form is that you can bend but not break. I think it's in Chinese philosophy, talking about the bamboo. I think I had an oracle once which was based on the mahjong, a set of mahjong tiles. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately, but I'm sure there was like a card that was around the bamboo, and it said the thing about bamboo is it bends but it doesn't break. So I think there's something there. So and it's very connected to the crown chakra, to your life purpose, but it's also connected to the heart and communication with others. So and we've got literally the depiction here like a bit like the Matrix with the red pill and the blue pill. I think you would be very good at seeing both sides of a position. I don't think you would be one of the people who's really bifurcated as a lot of people are politically. I think you could sort of see both sides, and you could almost play both sides if necessary to get to something that's good, but it's always got a higher purpose with the sort of colour energy there. Plum talks about choices again, decisions and options. So I just think you're really good at that. And if you were, working in planning in some way or strategy, you'd be very good at being able to look at the different options that were available and how to deal with those. If you are trying to do something artistic or creative, you can use a lot of different mediums. You can move between things. So I think about artists who do, installation art, where a lot of it's around sculpture or whatever, but can also have like painting and other, mixed media, all that kind of thing. So there's something like that for you. And then with Iris, this talks about journey, path and travel. I think it's about you can go down a path, but you can always course correct. This is the thing, I'm sort of thinking of, without quoting because I'm not going to end up with copyright things, but there's a sort of lyric in Stairway to Heaven that talks about being able to change the path that you're on. There's that kind of energy to this. Or even if we think about poetry, Robert Frost with The Road Less Travelled. So I think, there's a sense there about taking the unusual path sometimes, because if you find, that wasn't the right thing to do, you can always course correct. I think this is one of your points of genius. So I think that for you, you make an art form of life by making choice seem easy. I don't think you take long to make choices. You'd be a very, very good manager, executive or whatever. One of the big things that tended in what I observed in terms of my career and work and looking at, very, very powerful people, mostly they were able to make decisions quickly and were able to course correct. The other thing about this that I think is a kind of genius, a wonderful way of looking at things, is that I don't think you'd be the sort of person who worried too much about being quote unquote right. I think that you understand intrinsically that we're always making, I always say life is making decisions with imperfect information, because it's always what it is. We don't fully know anything. We look at our experience, we look at what evidence is available, we weigh it up, and then we make a choice. Intelligence is understanding when, we got the wrong information or we didn't factor something else in, and we course correct and go forward. So you're highly intelligent, highly able to deal with that. But I think you bend but don't break. You can move, you can see both sides. You can help other people choose. You would be very good with change. But I think you're always looking for the choice that moves things forward. I think that's what is, whatever you did, whether it was purely artistic or whether it was more sort of like traditional in a corporate environment or political or social, it's being able to see both sides. It's being close. The other thing that some of you may be very close to, if you've done something like Myers-Briggs, for instance, so, ENTJ, INSP or whatever, if you know that particular typology. In each of them, it's a kind of a kind of two opposites in a way, extrovert, introvert, and so forth. And you're somewhere on a scale. I think a lot of you may be very close to the middle on one or more of those. And that would be instructive to you if you've done that, as to where your highest form of the art would actually come. So given that kind of background, let's use the tarot and let's see what we get. So we're going to start firstly with what is unique and beautiful and art like right now for you. Like, what are you already manifesting around this, or more broadly? Then we're going to have a look at what can you still consciously develop. So it's kind of, it's in your kit bag and you've got it up your sleeve to develop. And then we're going to see what is hidden in you that you don't see yet. So firstly, what's happening right now? We have the Five of Wands reversed, the Two of Wands, choice again. Yeah, you are the master of choice. King of Swords, very fair too. Five of Pentacles reversed, and the Ten of Wands. Okay, yeah. Well, this sort of makes sense. Things like the Ten of Wands, the need for the balance or whatever is the King of Swords, the kind of conflict resolution energy with, as I say, that depiction of the Tower. I just think it's a very interesting depiction of the Tower. So I think right now, you're very fair, you're very balanced. As I say, I mean, like some of you may work in law or might be drawn towards that, or mediation, negotiation, something like that. You really do see both sides of things. You might find it frustrating with people who are very much on one side or another in something, because you can see that kind of diminishes both sides in a way. But you're very fair. You're very fair, and things have to pass the intellectual smell test with you. Like, if it doesn't make sense, then you're not going to sort of like take it into account. You need to look at what's really going on. And it's very mature, very, very smart, very, very clever energy. You are able to... Did I say Ten of Wands? This is Six of Wands. I'm not sure what I actually said when I put that down. You're able to become victorious in any kind of debate, and in bringing people together. This is the thing that's interesting with the Five of Wands reversed and the Five of Pentacles reversed. This is the mark of being able to conflict resolve and being able to bring things together, whether it's material or people. It's kind of like breaking out of binds, or where people are finding it difficult to choose, and moving forward, whether it's each individually going in a particular direction or whether it's yourself deciding what to do. You're very good at that. You're very good at that. And like, whether you're using it at the moment to make money, you probably should in one level or another, because you would do very well with that. It's just a natural side of you. I think people come to you because you're fair and they see that you see both sides. It's kind of got a Wisdom of Solomon type of feeling about it. The story of Wisdom of Solomon, where Solomon, had two women who came and said they were the mother of a child, and he said, okay, well, if you won't agree on who's the actual mother, then I'll chop it in half and you can each have half. And one of the women went, no, she's the mother. And by that, he knew that woman was actually the one who was the true mother, because she would rather give up her child than see her child killed. So there's something like that about you. And that's already showing, and you're very successful with it. So, okay, so let's see, what can you still consciously develop, either in this space or something that complements it in some way? Ace of Wands, Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, you should monetize this if you aren't already. Eight of Cups, Seven of Cups reversed, Page of Pentacles. It's very interesting. We're getting here like the minor arcana. As I say, the major arcana have the different art forms. The minor arcana are these sort of grey background with just the sort of imagery. So you could create a business or create financial independence out of this. If you haven't realised this, I think for some of you may not know, you've just always naturally been able to do it and you haven't necessarily thought, oh, I could actually monetize this. You could monetize it. So it's worth being aware of. It's a very important skill to have in whatever you do. If you want to be an executive or a manager or something like that, or if you want to, be socially relevant or take a cause forward, or whether it's just, you want really good relationships around you and so forth, you'd be very good at this. You would be very good at helping people. You could monetize and creatively build something that helped people move away from the old paths and the old decisions and be able to let go. Because as I say, this is one of the things that I find really interesting. If you have realized, and I think you have, that we all make mistakes because it's impossible not to, because we won't always have the right information. And there's a lot of things we don't know about until we see how it unfolds. There are a lot of people I've seen, and in recent things, around health issues that have been in the community and all that kind of thing more recently, there's an interesting thing to look at where some people find it very hard to let go of what they believed initially, even though there's a lot of evidence now to suggest having a different or a broader approach. And it's not like they should feel bad. There's nothing wrong with taking the decision they took with the information that they had, for instance. I'm just using this as an example. But it's almost as though being wrong is the thing that they're worried about. And I personally think it's because we're brought up to think how good we are is, how well we do on a test and getting things right and wrong. But that's not true of life. Life isn't like that. We don't have the set answers for most things. Life is a journey, a travel to discovery. And what you do here about being able to see both sides and weigh it up is really important. But to be able to do it, see, this is, you're able to let go of the emotional stuff. You're not sort of bound by that. You're not going to sort of have your own self-esteem go down if a decision was wrong. You're able to let go. You're very realistic. It's not pie in the sky. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for what will work. And as a result, you definitely could monetize this. And you could help other people. You could help people, if you became sort of wealthy, for instance, and you could with this sort of ability, then you may well then be a patron for others and help others start to build and understand how to do that and follow in your footsteps. So that's something that you kind of know that you could do it, but you maybe haven't stepped into it or you haven't fully flowered it yet. So what's hidden that you don't see yet? Either something around this or something quite different around, what you could make of an art form for your life. Hierophant, yeah, you could teach. This is the other thing I was thinking there. I hadn't seen teaching cards, but you could teach others. Four of Pentacles reversed. Four of Wands. Temperance. Yeah, the reason you were drawn to the Tower card, I think, either you know what the archetypal meaning of the Tower card is, or it's just you just energetically called to it, is that the normal thing around the Tower is where everything breaks down because it needs to. And it's time for things to be sort of refreshed and renewed. And if one goes with that energy and allows it to occur, it operates fairly well. If one tries to push against it, it can be really difficult. So I think this is where there's sort of like another side of this that you could, as I say, productize or develop further. And as I say, there is something maybe about teaching people or coming up with a system. You may be able to systemize how to do this. To help people come more into balance and to bring groups together to work more productively, breaking old structures that are no longer working, like certainly as a change agent, if you haven't thought about that, that's definitely there. Otherwise, it's like teaching people about this and teaching people that it's okay to go through periods of like letting go of foundations and rebalancing. So you're an energy that's really necessary in the world because we are so increasingly separated. And people get in their camps and they won't talk to each other. They won't even look at what somebody else's perspective is. Someone like you, very good at bringing those things together, finding the things in the middle that are true of both or that both can agree on. And then you can build from there. That's something you can do, but I think you could teach others to do it in some way. Whether it's traditional sort of teaching or whether it's spiritual teaching or whether you write a book or something like that, because certainly there's a creative energy. You're creative with the Ace of Wands. So that's very interesting. So what we want to have a look at now is how does your art, this thing that you can do, help you heal any issues you have focus your energy and then empower yourself? And then how do you help others to do that? So using a trio of decks that looks at those three things. So firstly, in relation to you, how does this ability that you have help you in healing, this art that you have for being able to move flexibly? And as I say, bend but don't break. Body. Okay, so for some of you, some of you may be very, very good at any kind of like flexibility, movement, yoga, any of those sort of things. But you could literally heal things in your body this way, bringing things into balance, homeostasis, as they say, where everything is kind of balanced. You kind of intuitively get that. So that ability and getting things into balance and everything in moderation and all those sort of things, plus also potentially for some of you, you just might be very, very good at working out the best way to sort of build your physical health. So it has a physical effect on you. It's a freeing effect, I think. So what should you focus on more to really make the best of all of that and of the art? Relaxation. Okay. All right. Now that's interesting. So you're so good at all of this, and you're so good at dealing with change, with being able to course correct, all that kind of thing. Maybe sometimes you need to kind of pull back and balance it out a bit for yourself. Maybe you're always go, go, go. Actually, the interesting thing about you is that I feel like some of you could be connected to the death card for the next one. I don't know yet what's going to be in that. I do these readings in order. But also the Chariot, because the Chariot to me, which is pole 3, is about moving forward, ambition and drive. So I think that this is saying that your capacity to do this and to keep things in balance, the thing that you may be not focusing on as much as you should with that is like taking time out. So then what is the message for you around empowering this energy? Refusing to conform dismantles the world's fear-based systems. Courageously be you. Yeah, you're not conforming. Like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, it seems to defy all architectural ideas. It is uniquely itself. The tower moment is to become more authentically yourself. But you're not going, I'm not going to just agree just to agree. I want to see that things are balanced. And you're courageous in doing that. And I think you'd also be the sort of person who, if you felt you needed to, and I think this is saying some of you may need to think about this, take time out, because you know what? You're kind of run a risk of burning yourself out or something like that. You would go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. People might say, oh no, you need to wait a few years to do that. But you go, no, I'm going to do it, because you actually have things very well in balance. Okay, so let's see the same thing around this in terms of your art, how it helps others. So how does it help others heal? Remembering that I think you're a really good mediator, negotiator, arbiter, and potentially teacher of all of this. Conformity, yeah, you are able to help people break out of this lockstep stuff. You can break people out of the paradigms that entrap them, because that is what happens, whether it's politically, socially, in work or whatever. You are very uniquely you, and you are able to move and bend and twist and do what you need to do. You can break people out of this sense that there's only one lockstep way of doing things. So what would you help other people focus on through the use of your life as an art form? Divination. Okay, so this, as I said, maybe spiritual teaching for many of you, knowing the nature of this collective. But I think you may actually be able to, if you're in an environment or with people and you can naturally, because your mind works in this way, see the two sides, it may be that through using spiritual gifts and divination, you can get people to actually start to look at the other side as well too. Maybe coming in straight on that political view is not taking into account X, Y, and Z or whatever it might be. It's not the best way of doing it. Doing it around divination, how that connects into people's lives, and showing kind of the bigger picture may be a way that you can help people break out of their sort of rigid patterns. And so what would be the empowerment message you would bring to others as a result of this? There is a solution to every problem. Go within to find it. Yeah, go within rather than conformity. This is very, 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 very sort of consistent reading. It's being very, very focused here. It's sort of saying, this is what you do. You're a genius at this. And as I say, we do need people like you in the world at the moment. So it's wonderful to know you exist. Okay, so let's get you a couple of wild animal energies, familiar spirits, also from Danilo Zanino's suite of decks to support you in this. The armadillo, self-protection mode. Okay. I do think there's something here that's saying that because you're so good at this, you might overdo it sometimes. You do also need to protect yourself. You do need to think about yourself. I think you could be quite selfless because it's all about the theory and all that kind of thing. But you do need to do that. And not everybody. I think there's a discernment thing, particularly if you're working in social causes, political causes, spiritual causes. Not everybody wants to break out of conformity. So part of the thing might be to protect yourself and protect your energy to go to those who really can go into problem-solving mode rather than the conformity. And we have zebra, independent thought. Well, there you go. Yeah. This is you in a nutshell. And look at the colours around it. It's like this is the art. You have this art of independent thought. You are able to be very uniquely you. And I think that's very inspiring to people as well. So that's very powerful. So let's see whether you're in balance. I mean, overall it looks like you are. But let's see, with the chakras, if there's anything that needs, either anything around your balance that we can also see and recognise in this, or anything that needs to be thought about for you personally. Okay, overactive solar plexus, I do have to be right. Okay, so now this is interesting because that kind of runs opposite to everything that's been saying. But remember we have the King of Swords. So I think that this might be the self-protection mechanism and deciding who to talk to. The irony of this, it's almost like a logical inconsistency. Part of what your message is that it's not about being right. It's about moving and becoming more right as opposed to being, the universal I am right and that's all there is to it. You may find it frustrating if there are people who want to sit with the conformity. So I think this might be like, don't get to the point where you're just so frustrated with people that you're going to go like, you're just not seeing it or whatever. Find your audience, I would say, is important. Second one, root chakra. I am focused, balanced. Yeah, you are focused where you need to focus. You're very balanced on that kind of level. And remembering this is about focus for you and for others, you kind of know how to do that for yourself and for others. And at your real core, and that's why you can deal with tower energy, because your root chakra is very balanced. And then we have the crown chakra. I'm not surprised that came up. I sense hyper-spiritualization, overactive. Okay, so the two things for you, I think, are that there might be a kind of urgency. You might have a kind of a zeal. Like you can see, it works for you to be able to see both sides. And you might get frustrated sometimes, and you may even be getting a lot of downloads. As I say, there's a lot of crown chakra energy there that's helping you with this. You may sometimes feel like, I've just got to do this. This is why we've got relax here. It's kind of like relax. We've got the armadillo to get you to choose the right people. It's like you don't have to boil the ocean, as they say. You don't have to solve everything. So I think that's getting those things into balance, not getting frustrated with others who can't be as flexible as you, but focusing where this can be best utilised. Okay, let's also get you a couple of planetary pairings to say a little bit more about your artistic genius. Moon and Neptune. So you are able to understand the emotional side of things. Even though you're going to come across as very much about logic, you can do that and you can go into the numinous, and you are very connected with Neptune to the liminal realm. So that's why divination, this is why I think you're a really interesting combination. You could use divination to get this message across and to touch the emotional side, because I feel like you could kind of go, well, I don't know what you're worried about. Like we just make decisions as we move along and we course correct. But a lot of people can't do that. So I think this connects you in to the sort of spiritual and emotional side. So you do have that. You don't come across as just too logical and not sort of like connected. And we have Saturn and Pluto. There you go. Well, that's the tower. You are able to crystallize and build something new from major change. So you really are a change agent, but you bring a lot of discipline to that. I feel like Saturn is the King of Swords. I think Pluto is the tower. It's like the balance and the structure and the understanding to go through that and to build something new out of it. And in fact, I actually think it's also, if you look at Saturn and Pluto as two energies, they're not exactly opposites, but Pluto wants to kind of boil the ocean and change everything. Saturn wants to sort of like deal with things structurally and preserve that which is still necessary. and wants to go a bit slower. So I think this is also you, the balance. As I said, it's a bit like the Myers-Briggs feeling, the feeling like, you might be very close to the sort of center of extrovert or introvert or thinking or feeling or whatever. It's a similar thing here, that there's a big change energy that you want, but there's also the kind of discipline and the time and the patience that's necessary to make that happen. Okay, so just to finish off, we're going to use the art oracles now. These decks are just funny a lot of the time. And if it's just humorous, just take the humor. Sometimes there's some deep messages in it. In this case, it's people in the art world. Now, I am not that versed in the art world, so I may recognize the person. If I don't, I'm going to pause and see what the book says so I can tell you who the artist is, because I don't think it's important for this one, because it's giving you a bit of an idea almost of somebody in the art world that also represents your particular type of art. So we have Sonia Delaunay, and I certainly don't know who that is. Okay, so basically Sonia was raised in St. Petersburg. She had and was educated by really rich relatives who supported art education for her. She was part of the Parisian avant-garde, so again, being ahead of the time, being able to see what is different. And it was a time of great change too around things politically. So she was in that kind of melting pot of great change, which sort of fits with your sort of energy. She married Robert Delaunay, and together they developed Orphism, a cubism offshoot, which used vivid colours, geometric shapes and so forth. But then she went through the Russian Revolution and she was left penniless. But after that, she kind of segued into doing fashion design in Madrid, and she was experimental there. So it's like going through great change and still being able to kind of rise. It's almost like a phoenix-like energy operating there. So she was not. She had like a flexibility. She was able to go through great change, and she was able to take this sort of innovative thought, forward. So it makes a lot of sense for this. So I think that's the energy of you, however you apply it. Her advice is don't live to 94 without founding an art movement. So yeah, you are meant to do something really different. That's why I feel like you're meant to teach people or show them how to do what it is you do. She says the practical should also be art. Yeah, there's something very practical about you. It's like you definitely could be an artist or something if you wanted to be, but it's like in your life, it's like the practicality of what you do as an art form in itself. And she says, does your geometry lack poetry? Yeah. And how do you bring the spiritual and the emotional into this? And I think this is one of the things for you that you can do, because you kind of see the connection of the two. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you come to the reading with the Death card, which is the Scream. It's based on the Scream, but I think it's Edward Munch. I might not be pronouncing the name correctly, but it's an interesting choice for this because it gets to a very elemental level, and I think there is something very elemental about you looking at the energy here. But but interestingly, you either can make light of that and make it kind of fun, or you can kind of balance in choices when to go with the wild, when to go with the sort of flirty and fun, and when to go with the purity, because these are the three energies that you've got. So it's sort of like often we think of the Death card and some of the other kind of choice cards, whether it's the Lovers or Judgment or any of the twos in the minor arcana, we kind of think almost of a binary choice, but this is really interesting. And it is a bit similar to one of the other readings in the sense that I think choice is one of your skills. It's one of the things that you make an art form. But I think for you, you're a bit of a chameleon, I think. One of the things that's artistic about you is you can present in any particular way depending upon what is the impact you want to have, what is the scenario that it is, who are you around. It almost gives me a sort of sense of thinking of musicians, of a David Bowie or a Madonna or someone like that, in the sense of reinvention and applying to the particular time period, or actors in general who can, one day be in a horror film and one day be in a really intense drama and another day be in a comedy. You're able to balance all those things. And I actually think for some of you, you probably are quite comedic, quite satirical, quite clever around things like that as well. But it's all around keeping your options open, I think. And saying, I'm not just one thing. And I think that you keep people guessing a little bit. There's a side of you here with Forest that is about elemental, fairies, magic. So there's something very magical, very mysterious about you, very seductive about you. with the green energy, heart connections, probably a lot shows up around love. There's actually quite a bit about love, connection, probably very, very attractive to other people, very able to be both mysterious and seductive and femme fatale in the female side and kind of, the male version of that, depending upon what you identify with, but certainly there's that kind of side. But then there's also, with hot chocolate here, was a wild card, friendship and feeling, get together, flirting, new connections, like able to be light as well. So it's sort of like it depends on the circumstances. And then we have white, angels, purity, radiance. So on this side, magic, the mysteries, and on this side, the celestial realms. And in the middle of it's let's get together, have fun. Like I almost feel like you could get, archangels and fairies to sit down at a table and have a good time. Like like I almost feel this is the feeling I get from this is like you're up on stage as like a comedian or an artist or an actor, and you're kind of bringing all these energies together with the fact that you can be all those things, and you kind of think everybody can be all those things. So it's sort of like you can demonstrate that to others. So I think a lot of your art is about being able to be a chameleon, but being able to be very, very pure in what you do. So if you are going to be on the side of the angels, you're going to be very pure in that. If you're going to be seductive, you're going to be the ultimate seductress or seducer. If you're just going to have fun, you're going to be doing that. So I think that there's a kind of a sense of like the extremes and then the lighthearted in the center as well. So I think you would be very, very attractive to other people on all sorts of levels. So very interesting energy. So even though this looks like there's an inner scream around it all, an inner disturbance, I think you can go, okay, if I'm confronted with something that could be overwhelming or difficult or a difficult choice, I can decide what I'm going to adopt and who I'm going to be in that situation. I think and you can make light of things that other people would be frightened of. Very interesting. So we're going to use tarot and we're going to ask three things. We're going to say, firstly, what's unique and beautiful and art-like about you now that's sort of already on display. Then we're going to look at what you can still consciously develop. And then we'll look at what's hidden either about this or about other aspects in your life that you could make as art, but you don't even sort of see it yet. So what's going on right now? Page of Cups reversed. Two of Wands. The Tower. That's interesting. I do feel there's a kind of a similarity about where that turned up and that card being in another reading. That I think for some of you there's an interplay between the two. Won't be for everybody. Don't try and force it if it doesn't feel right. King of Pentacles reversed. Eight of Swords. Okay. So one of the things about you, although there is a really strong sense of love in its various, the sacred and the profane and the fun, like there's a really big thing here about attractiveness, love, flirtation, connection. You're not too romantic. And that's interesting because like you don't have to be the one thing. So, you don't have to be Heathcliff. You don't have to be, some sort of pure angel. You don't only have to be lighthearted. You can be any of these things because it's sort of like for you, it's more what is right for the experience rather than there being a romantic suite of conditions that you have to meet. So you choose it. You're choosing how to express yourself. You're not choosing a romantic trope, basically. And you're really able to deal with change around you and to adopt what you need to fit in with the environment you're in, the people you're in, all of that kind of thing. One of the things I said about this in the reading where that was the main thing is that I find an interesting choice of card because I feel like the tower normally depicts a tower falling, but this is actually a tower that doesn't fall, even though all sort of like laws of architecture and gravity and everything suggest it should. It somehow still stays upright. And I talked a lot about being able to bend without breaking. So I think that part of what is already true about you is that you can be a distinct, different, or stand out. Like I almost feel in a weird way that where things are very conventional, you're very magical. Where things are very profane, you're very pure. Where things are really heavy, you're very lighthearted. There's a side of you that brings things into balance so that you and others can make the right sort of choices. And you don't have only one version, and that has to be you. You're very able to deal with major change as well too, whether it's in relationships, and a lot of this is about relationships for you, I think, but also in business or anything like that. You don't want to be caught in one particular material outcome. Like the King of Pentacles is in many ways the apotheosis, when upright, of the Pentacles. It's like wealth made, and often connects with things like King Midas and everything. And of course it has all the issues associated with that, where we can actually be trapped by our wealth and trapped by our material circumstances. So you don't allow yourself to be that. You can see that you can break out of that. You won't be constrained by other people's views and so forth. You do work within whatever environment you're in, but as I say, whether or not, some of you are going to work in that by being the opposite of it, and some you're going to just chameleon-like fit in, but you don't feel like you have to be just one thing. You can see, as is often the case with the Eight of Swords, that you could just unravel that and walk out. So you get that. So you know this about yourself. You know you can be any number of things. So what can you still consciously develop in this space? Nine of Wands, Four of Swords, Three of Swords reversed. Oh, that's interesting. Five of Cups reversed. The Moon reversed. Okay. All right. So for you, there's a little bit of a balance thing here as well. What this is showing is you can make an art form of, as I say, either really fitting in chameleon-like or almost being the antithesis to bring balance into a situation, depending upon how you actually use this ability to adopt almost masks. And it's not being inauthentic. You know, Oscar Wilde says, give a man a mask and he'll show you who they are. So I think it's like, it's not necessarily about being inauthentic, but it's about how you apply those sides of yourself, because you are, multitudes. So at the moment, I think you're kind of unromantic about it. You kind of help move through and break through from things. So you're more likely to be the iconoclast and the chameleon, but nevertheless, you could be either. This is saying that sometimes you could decide to stick with something rather than walk away from it, because it is almost a sense here of like you can just be what you need to be, and it's not in a dismissive way. You are so able to sort of shift energy. So this is all saying that there's also something about seeing something all the way through, not leaving something, and kind of doing it a little bit more quietly to heal energy. So I think there's a kind of a healing aspect of you. You may in fact be able to show other people you don't need to walk away. You just need to know how to fit into the environment that you're in, and bringing up to the surface with the Moon reversed there, the sort of like the mysteries of things and understanding it. Like for you, and again, this is a little bit similar to the reading that had the Tower, there's a kind of a sense where because you can wear the different masks, you can be the different people, you actually can walk a mile in their shoes, as they say. So you can actually see both sides. You can see the benefit of something that maybe is a bit different to what you internally feel is right, or you may well be saying to other people, you can do this. There's a kind of a don't just walk away to get away from the pain. Let the pain be resolved by bringing to the surface what is true. Like there's actually a sense here, because I keep getting a sense of performer around you. I don't know how many of you are actually performers, but I get something like that. It's like you enter the stage in one particular role, and then at the end you unmask yourself as something else, and there's an aha moment. I got the Scarlet Pimpernel for some reason. So I feel like there's something here about being able to show other people that you can adopt something for a period of time and see it through, rather than just I'm alien to this and I walk away. That everybody, and it's also how we bring things to the surface and we have understanding. Okay, so what is hidden that you don't even see at the moment? Because I think you see a lot, because you can be many things. And I think you can see where other people kind of walk away from something rather than exploring it, and you can help them see that. But what don't you see? Could be connected to this ability, or it might be another part of art within you that you don't see. Four of Wands, Page of Pentacles, Temperance reversed, Eight of Wands reversed. Okay. What you're going to show other people, there's a little bit here it's saying that you can show yourself as well. Like one of the things, and it might be why we have such a kind of stark image here with the Death card. Like, as I say, the Scream painting is famous, it's sort of like the inner Scream. This could be saying underneath, you have done this as an adaptive strategy and you've done it brilliantly. You are able to be all these different things and you are authentic in being them, but you're not committing to anything. And this is part of this, the King of Pentacles. And that's working for you at the moment. But like one of the things that you can show other people is by being almost a stranger in a strange land, you can help other people deal with that rather than just walk away from it, to explore and experiment. But what this is saying is what this is ultimately meant to bring you to is the choice. Are you mainly the forest magic? Are you mainly the sort of purity and the spiritual? Are you mainly the fun? Or, it might even be a different, set of choices, because this is saying that this can help you find the people, the soul family, the relationships that you would actually commit to. And that you hold yourself a little bit out of balance, a bit like the tower, leaning there and so forth, until you do that. You also need to find the one that you would commit to. And that's going to raise it to a higher level. It doesn't mean that you can't then wear the different masks and be the different people when it's necessary in other scenarios. But part of this is meant to allow you to explore and find who your people are. So that's interesting. So one of the things we wanted to do, and it's very fitting with that a message coming up, is have a look at how this art form within you helps you heal, focus and empower yourself, and how you also help others. So firstly, what is the healing energy for you that comes from having this capacity to see life as an art form? Competition. Okay, I think you do win at a lot of things. Because as I say, you really got to keep getting, that feels like someone at the Oscars or whatever. Like you feel like you're really, really good at this. And you're very much able to sort of fit in with what is necessary, understand the system that you're in, all that kind of thing. But there may be a side of you where it's almost become a bit of a game, and competing and winning is more important than the experience itself. That's where the flirting will help, like making it a little bit more fun. But there could be an agitation. So there's a healing within you in understanding how to use this capacity so that it's not just always about winning. It's also about finding your people. So what is the focus that you could best use? Sharing. Okay, yeah. That's why we saw like the next development is to help other people do what you do, which is to be able to be somewhere they're not comfortable and explore it. The more you share that, the more you're likely to find your people, in actual fact. It's like you are probably smarter than a lot of the people that you're dealing with on that kind of level of understanding other people. And that's great, but it can be a bit of a separating force. So I think that focusing on how you can share what you have here, what your abilities are, that would be really helpful. And what's an empowerment message for you in relation to that? Allowing people their own path is a powerful way to show incredible unconditional love. And this is interesting, you see, because in a way you are doing it, but this is like reframe it. So say if you are going into different environments and you're fitting in with those environments, or if you're being the iconoclast to get people to see the other side, could be a bit of both. What you're really doing is you are allowing people to find their own path. That's what you're trying to do around it. You're trying to, you are trying to keep things open, and allowing people to find what they could do and bring it to the surface. And it is a form of love. You think that this is, like, you verge a little bit on the cynical, and I'm not saying that in a really negative way, but I feel like you're so good at this that it's become like it's reflexive. But I think the more that you share what you do, the more you'll see that, what, there is underneath all of this is a high degree of romance. It's a high degree of love, because it's actually accepting diversity and accepting what is different and so forth. But that's for you to realize that you're a very caring person, even if you feel sometimes like it's you're in a competitive world. Can keep getting performer, that kind of thing. But you don't have to be a performer for this to be your reading. So what about what you can do to help others? So how do you help other people heal? Contracts. Okay. I think this is like, as I say, there's how you help others will ultimately help yourself and help you find your people. But there's something here about sort of like sticking something through, like not walking away, like seeing it through, so that people can see what they can do and how flexible they can be and what choices they really have, but also so that things are honoured in some way. It's like you're sort of someone who always knows where the escape door is, and that's a really powerful thing. but but you're able to do it because you are the kind of chameleon in the iconoclast. You're helping other people work out when they need to stay and understand and deal with the situation and do all that so that they don't have this work against them. Because a lot of people couldn't do what you do. So I think that you help other people fit in a bit more because they're not the natural chameleon. They're not the natural performer in the way that you are. But I think you help people work out how to navigate that. And ultimately in doing that, I think you start to realize, oh, actually, there will be a group of people that are my people. This is not me just being the constant sort of like chameleon. So what do you help them focus on? If you're helping them commit to things, because that's what that really looks like. Freedom, okay. Now, this is really interesting. One of the things that I've said sometimes when I've talked about how I read, particularly I pick a cards and stuff, I've said that I use structure because it frees me. And it seems like a counterintuitive thing. But if I know at the beginning I'm going to use a certain set of cards, I'm going to kind of look at certain lenses and everything. I know that I'm feeling like, yeah, I'm going to cover this properly. Then I'm free to do whatever I want within that and talk about it and see what I get. For me to just sort of lay the cards down, I'm going to kind of be second guessing myself a lot. Like, is there a structure to this? Is it going to make sense if I covered everything? This frees me. Ironically, understanding how to see something through is a freeing thing. And it's the energy of that King of Pentacles reversed with the Eight of Swords. It's like knowing sometimes you choose to stay somewhere because you could walk away, but you don't until you've done what you need to do. So I think this is giving people the sense that they have choice. So they're not sort of like screaming within, not knowing what to do. They're actually understanding that knowing how to see things through, how to meet their obligations is actually a freeing thing that allows them to move on. I think it's that kind of energy that you're helping people with. So how do you empower them? It's an empowerment message that your art brings to them. An open mind and the willingness to entertain new ideas repels stagnancy and lack of growth. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things, like, because for you it's sort of fun and it's experimental and you're open to different things and you can be different things and you don't feel lesser or greater than, you just it's part of who you are. You're able to sort of move between these things without being too worried about, like what's meant to be me or whatever. Getting people to be as open-minded as you helps them see that again, like it's an almost paradox that having an open mind gives the freedom to be able to meet your obligations and so forth and fit in where you maybe don't fit in if there is something that is of utility with that. So, I mean, I think you could be, like on one level, a really amazing performer who can show different things that way, or maybe a therapist or something like that. Like, you can help people look at the different ways of doing things. Something in that space is very much part of who you are and how you would help other people. So let's see what wild animal energy can help your art. What familiar spirits guide you. Horse, galloping toward freedom. Like, yeah, you are very free, actually. This is the thing. Because you can do these things, you're free. And you're going to show other people how to do it. But the irony is that you're showing them how to do it by knowing where they do need to fit in, where they do need to see things through, and you're going to learn the same thing yourself. Because I think part of this journey is towards your people. And Walrus, paternalistic autonomy. Yeah, it's sort of like, that's interesting with the King of Pentacles reversed. It's autonomy within systems. So this is what you can do. You know how to be free. You understand the system well enough that you can fit in and then you can be free. Like, that's sort of the thing. It's like if you were to go and join, I don't know, some sort of group and it had certain rules, understanding those rules allows you a structure and to know where you can be free and where you can express yourself, but you can also sort of fit in. It's like understanding those things is part of your genius, so to speak, part of your art. Okay, so let's see where things may or may not be in balance chakra-wise for you. Okay, firstly, heart chakra, that sort of makes sense with that coming up there. Okay, I love but can be codependent, overactive. So one of the things maybe here, this may have been a art form that you developed because you have a natural talent for it, but it was kind of as a result of something. And this might be why we have the sort of scream energy there too. You may have had a relationship that you felt was codependent or something like that, and you like, or you could have felt codependent with your family or something like that. So there's almost like a scream, no, anything but that. I'm just going to be all things and just be free on that level. So there's something about working out how you can love and find your people and understanding that that could be part of what's driving it. And it does make your life an art form and a performance, but and it is helpful to others, but maybe you're being too hard on yourself and you're able to actually, because you're so much of a chameleon, you are actually able to find your people and still have that freedom. We then have the throat chakra. I talk, but I fear expressing myself. Yeah, see, this is the other thing that could come with this. If you're always kind of adopting the mask, are you feeling like you're expressing yourself enough? So you won't find your people until you do that. It's not meant as criticisms for you. It's just understanding that part of what your genius is has its own limitations as well, and that's true of all of us. And then we have the root chakra. I am getting easily annoyed, overactive. Yeah, and you sometimes you do the different things, and because none of them are exactly you kind of get a little bit fed up and walk off. So there's something here about seeing something through. As again, like, it's interesting that I felt like, David Bowie or someone like that's a good example of it, because he took a character and he saw it all the way through artistically. Then he shed that character and moved on to another. So there's almost that kind of thing. And again, I don't know what he felt in the latter years of his life, but I almost had the sense in the last album that he brought out that was the most truly him. And it reflected having those connections in his life that were the most truly him. So I just think it's a good analogy. It's not, as you don't have to be exactly like David Bowie, but it's that kind of energy, I think, that we're looking at with you. Okay, so let's see a couple of planetary pairings that also are part of your artistic genius. Venus, you see, you actually are very good at love and what is beautiful. Like, your performances are beautiful. Like, any of you who are singers or actors or whatever, like, chef's kiss, really, really good. And you're very attractive. I said that right at the beginning. You're very, very attractive. So it allows you to do that. People want to welcome you in to their worlds and so forth. And they see you as very genuine. And you're not being inauthentic. It's just that you're choosing to highlight an aspect of yourself that fits in with the group. But you're very able to do that. It's very loving, actually. And I think you underestimate that in yourself. And Saturn, Neptune. Yeah, you're able to bring the spiritual through, the ideal through, with also the sort of material. And it's just interesting. I feel like Forest and White. I feel like Forest is Saturn here, magic, what you actually manifest, and Neptune is the kind of purity. So you are able to manifest those two things. I just find it so interesting. At the beginning, you had the flirting hot chocolate sort of energy. It's sort of like you are able to make what would seem to be really important stuff or very kind of ephemeral stuff, like make them balance out into something that is fun and something that is loving and beautiful. If you are an artist, you're an amazing artist. You'll do lots of different things, I would say. Okay, so what we're going to finish up with is the art oracles. Now, this is one of a series of oracle decks I have that are use famous people in the area. In this case, it's the art world. Now, I don't know a lot about the art world, to be honest, so I may well find someone comes up that I've not heard of. If that's the case, I'm going to pause and have a look at what the book says, because I actually think sometimes I don't worry about that, but I feel that it matters, because I feel like how this artist express themselves is important to the energy we're getting here of how you artistically express yourself. But like, what the advice is often just humorous. So just take it with a grain of salt if it's just fun, or take it as something a little bit more sort of deep if you feel that actually applies. So for you, again, we have someone I've never heard of, Le Corbusier. I'm probably mispronouncing that name. Okay, so just look that up. Very interesting. This guy was an architect. And what he is famous for is he felt that with the right sort of architecture, you could get rid of the need for revolution or societal stuff. It was about creating kind of like little mini cities and mini enclaves. And if you think about what we're doing here, we're looking at the different effects of things. So I think this is sort of like, the people who are wild are in their place, it's wild. The people who are pure are in their place, it's pure, and so forth. There's a sort of a sense of compartmentalizing. that he was very good at doing. And he was sort of seen as one of the sort of fathers of urbanism and like, how we all live together, and that kind of thing. Like how do we do that? How do we have something that shows who we actually are, and then also something that allows us to group and come together with those that we align with. And he needed to understand all those to do that. That would make sense. So there's something about that with you. The other thing that's interesting with him is apparently he was also an individualist, and he wanted to have fun regardless of whatever he was told. So it's a flirting thing, because apparently he died of pneumonia because he went skinny dipping when his doctor told him not to because he had a bad heart. So there's that adventurous side as well. So I think that this has got something to do with you understanding groups and different identities and all that kind of thing, and being able to fit in with many, but also being able to find your people, but also help other people in finding the places that they would feel comfortable and stay. I think that's what this is about. His advice is theory makes perfect, practice makes problems. So yeah, there's sort of like, this may be one of the things to think about for you. It's like at the moment, a lot of this is theoretical. You do have to face the problems, the gritty problems of finding your people and so forth, and sticking something through. He says, sign your name in concrete. So yeah, do something that's lasting. You are meant to do something that's lasting and find the people that you would last with, because you're very clever and you're very good at this. That's the important thing. And then he says, go big and go home. So yeah, and I think that kind of is like, yeah, be able to do all these things and be all these things, but in the end, know what your home is. I think that's what this is talking about as well. So I hope that resonates for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you can do the reading with Chariot, which has a portrait, I think, of Napoleon from, again, a famous artwork. And I'm not an art historian, so I can't really give you the derivation of that. But I'm pretty sure that's Napoleon. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if you know the artwork. But certainly, to me, the energy of the Chariot is shown a couple of ways by this. There is a sense of great dynamism, action, moving forward, and dealing with, when we look at a checkerboard there, the sort of like the balancing of opposites. But I always think of the Chariot as a destiny card, and I think that someone like a Napoleonic or a similar sort of person moving forward to their destiny, there's something here about destiny. And either your destiny or the destiny of others. I think this is a very specific reading, actually. I think that you'll know pretty quickly whether it's right for you. And if not, maybe go to one of the others or take what works for you. But I feel that the people who this reading is for are in a complex environment, whether it's in a work environment, a family environment, a social environment, a political environment, even a spiritual environment, where they either have responsibility for bringing up children or bringing things into maturation in some way, and protecting almost the innocence and the purity and what the true destiny of something is, but where a lot on the surface is sort of appears to be very fine and very wonderful, but isn't really what it appears to be. Like, it's a bit like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Maybe something like the Once and Future King, about Arthurian stuff, where Arthur was sort of like put in a particular family to hide his sort of destiny. Merlin had to come along and nurture that destiny and only have it come out at the time that it was necessary, because it's very dangerous in a way for that to come out any time earlier. It feels like that. It feels like you either see your destiny in taking a new idea, a new project, a new art form, whatever it might be, forward, and you want to keep its purity, but you're in an environment that has lots of rules and doesn't play by those rules, or where to be pure to what you want to do, you have to recognize that there's almost an artifice, and then there's the actual art. And the artifice is hiding, again, the rules of the industry. Like, people sort of say that, if you are going to do a creative job, excuse me, it's interesting. I feel like my throat chakra is sort of closing up a bit. So there's like, what is silencing you? What do you have to know how to navigate in an environment where there is, these supposed rules, and then it's what's really going on? And it's, as I say, it could be social, it could be political, it could be spiritual, it could be in a workplace, it could be in the, art industry or something like that. So You actually know and understand this, and you have a real sense of destiny for yourself or for someone you're looking after, or a bit of both. I'm not sure. It could be either with that. And you do know the difference between the sort of like beautiful sort of, outward appearance of something and the truth. Like one of a good example actually of this would be being in the corporate world, working in a corporate function, like either, looking at the finances or looking at the HR or something. And you kind of know the dissonance between what is publicly being said and what's actually going on in the organization. So it's that kind of thing, but you do have a sense of your own destiny or others and how to protect the purity of something. And you have a real capacity to do that. So as I say, you feel a bit like a Merlin to me. Like sort of, I feel like for many of you, you are protecting that purity for others. And that's part of your destiny. But within that, there is your own destiny, because Merlin had his own destiny as well. But I think it's having the courage also to move forward and being able to see the opposites and balance them, and know how to navigate that world. So I think that your art form is understanding the artifice and then the true art of something. So let's use tarot to get a bit more information. So let's firstly ask, what is unique and beautiful in art like now for you? Then we're going to look at what you could still, with what you already know of that, develop even further. And then we're going to look at what's hidden from you in terms of your own ability to make your life an art form. And it could be related to this, another aspect of it, or it could be something quite different. So let's see, what's unique and beautiful in art like already and what you do. The High Priestess, you understand the mysteries. 10 of Cups, okay. The Empress, oh wow, you are the natural nurturer. 4 of Cups. 3 of Cups reverse, yeah, okay. You do see below the surface. You do know how to keep a secret when it's necessary as well too, and for many of you that is necessary in this scenario. If you are dealing with something precious, a project or something like that, you know how to keep it secret. You know how to nurture it and allow it to grow. If it's a person, similarly, you can do that. For a lot of you, this connects a lot to family, whether it is your current family, your birth family, or, like generationally. There's something like that. There's like a keeper of the mysteries, a nurturing energy to move forward. As I say, there's something very strong here about the protector of something pure. And it's almost like it's passed down in some way. This is, again, like I feel like, again, you could be in a like a family that is very wealthy, for instance. I'm not saying necessarily that, but it's just an example. And there's all the kind of social niceties, and then you know what's going on underneath it. But there is a lot of actual love. You have a lot of love for those in your family that you are caring for, and you have a lot of love for whatever you want to move forward and nurture. But gee, this is, as I say, this is very specific. Like, you'll know if this is the right reading for you, because there's got to be an aspect in your life where the artifice or the appearance of what you're involved in is very different to what's going on, but you have something very pure within yourself or others that you want to nurture and bring forward. And you know that in a way, you have to do this on your own, because it's if you are looking for others to celebrate what you're doing, they're not going to, because they like the artifice more than the art. So this has got to be something of your true heart moving forward. And that is part of what makes your life an art form, that you care enough about something that you would do this. So what can you still consciously develop given this tricky environment that this is all happening in? Death, so choice. The 7 of Wands, courage. The Emperor, wow, the Emperor and the Empress. There's definitely something, for some of you, this might be about a child or children that you have, protecting them in an environment, or it might be protecting your own inner child and what you really wanted to do when you were young. But gee, there's a thing of being the parent, both sides of the parent to whatever this is. 5 of Wands reversed. The Fool reversed, okay. I think, look, there's something for many of you, this is karmic, generation, or something like that. Your ancestors are probably very strongly connected to it. You've seen this before. Like, it's like you have an understanding of, within this environment, how something pure and beautiful can be kind of besmirched or whatever, or can be hidden within the artifice or something. You know what the issues are that have to be balanced. And you know how to mediate out of that. That's good. I think you've actually learnt this through pain. You've learnt this through losing something, and now you know something. It's so that you're ready to protect something within yourself or around you that was very precious. So making the choices that are the most courageous and that make you sovereign to this, rise above the scenario, become the Napoleon, become the revolutionary, whatever it might be. That's what is going to happen. At the moment, you're nurturing and letting it grow and keeping it hidden, but eventually it's like you're going to give it its space in time, and you'll have learned what you needed to learn to do that. So there's a very strong sense of timing around this as well. So what don't you know? What else do you have in your kit bag that you may be underestimating or not being aware of at the moment? Pile 3. The Devil. Wow, you're in a complex situation. Knight of Cups reversed. Page of Wands reversed. 8 of Pentacles. Okay. For some of you, I think you're in a very powerful family, very powerful position, or around very powerful people. And you are protecting something within that. And you will come to the point of being able to take it forward. But it's almost like understanding the shadow is going to be your ace up your sleeve, and you're not actually even realizing that at the moment, but that will be the case. Being able to understand and see and know the dark energy and the constrictive energy here will be just as important, because there is going to be probably people around you that have a false offer to you and a false, we're going to support this or whatever. You've got to know that this is something you can do yourself. You have the skills that are necessary. And so it's like you have to be the sovereign. The sovereign doesn't get to have like the friends, so to speak, in the same way. It's not to say that you'll be friendless, but there's something around this where you understanding this environment will see a mile off when someone is falsely saying they're going to support, and you're going to need to use those skills, because that's going to be the next step around this, whether it's your own destiny you're protecting or somebody else's. That's going to be the next step. This is pretty high powered, as I say. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be, in like, the 1% of the, economic world or whatever, but this is something quite high powered in this, and something of long duration and probably family type of connections as well. So what we want to do is see how the art, you living your life as an art form, heals, helps you focus and empowers you, and then also how you do it for others. So firstly, what is the healing energy for you in using this sort of way that you can use your understanding of your environment to protect what is precious? What is the healing energy for you? Trust, knowing who to trust, knowing when to trust, knowing how to be trustworthy. So trusting yourself too, I think, trusting your knowledge, that's a very important thing. So what do you need to focus on to help you get that trust? This is the courage energy too. Joining, okay. Who do you connect with and who don't you? Because there is going to be some people who are not what they appear to be. But I think you'll know that. Knowing where to join, how to connect, and where to stay a little bit separate. For some of you, this is like, an initiation in a spiritual group or like joining a secret society or something. There's that kind of energy around it. What's an empowerment message for you in navigating this? Do not mistake sensory overload for true love. Okay, there's definitely something down here where someone might try and seduce you. Okay, so in the midst of all of this, where you're protecting something precious to you or to others, don't let them overwhelm you with too much. So you have the skills to know this, but you need to be aware of that. You need to know who to join with and who not to join with. So how can you help others? Firstly, how can you help others heal, particularly if you are protecting someone else or a cause in some way? Past lives, yeah, there's something long-term in this. This is something karmic. This is something generational. Understanding that and knowing that is important, and you can help others. I think you can clear karmic energy for ancestors, that kind of thing, through doing this, through protecting things. As I say, I feel like you, either earlier in this life or in a past life, you have seen all this before. So what can you help others focus on? Breathing, okay. Just being in the moment. There's actually an undertow in all this. There's an undertow of, what things appear like and all the secrets that are being kept, but there's also the undertow of the past. So sometimes, like to be able to liberate and to just breathe and be in the moment and be present is something you can help. And certainly if you're trying to protect people in this environment, that's important. So what's a message of empowerment that you're living your life as an art brings to others? Nourishing your body with the right foods is healthy, but not if you deprive yourself of enjoyment. So I think there's a lot of pressure around this as well too. Pressure to resolve the karma, pressure to be the poise and finesse, pressure. I think that part of what you can do for others is get them to just relax and let go of the past and just be in the moment and enjoy life rather than everything being really earnest or this feels very, this is the way we do things, polite society. There's a book called The Age of Innocence and a movie that was made of it. I think it had Winona Ryder in it. I can't remember who else. Michelle Pfeiffer maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, I remember reading about it at the time the movie came out, and I thought it was really interesting. Somebody was saying like what it showed, because it was all about, I don't know whether it was Victorian England or something like that. It was that kind of time period. And it was saying something about the savagery beneath polite society. And it was all around relational stuff. This is the kind of energy I'm getting around there. Everything's polite and everything appears to be great, but underneath there's a lot of kind of dissonance between what is said and what is done. And as I say, you're protecting this. But if you are finding others that are equally wanting to move forward and be more authentic and clear past karma and all that kind of thing, they may be so earnest that you can actually help them by getting them to just kind of enjoy their lives as well and to feel that they can trust you as well as trust that this is going to work out. Okay, let's get some wild animal support for you, some familiar spirit support for you. Because I think of all the readings, you're the ones who need it. Like you have the art form of being able to do this. You really know what you're dealing with here and you have a real sense of destiny. But boy, it's a complex situation. So firstly, oh, that's interesting. This came up for one of the others. Horse galloping towards freedom. So I do think this is about freeing yourself to join what is more authentic, to protect what is precious, to move forward rather than be stuck in the past. Horses are very powerful energy and can move quite quickly once you realise it. And dragonfly, breaking free from illusion. Yeah, and what are the illusions? What are the things... Yeah, because the other sort of thing I could think of, given sort of the nature of, these sort of readings and the collective I have is like, as I say, joining a secret society thinking, this is the keys to the kingdom. And then you find out, wow, it's not what I thought it was. And it's how do you break free, get out of the illusion and get to what is true and what is actually pure and what needs to be grown and supported and so forth. Okay, so let's see what you need to balance chakra-wise to make the most of this. Firstly, solar plexus chakra. I do have to be right, overactive. So you may hit up, and this is maybe something that you've learned already or you've learned from past lives, you may hit up against what needs to be precious and whatever, and then what this environment, this group, this family, whatever it is, you may be sort of someone who's kind of been bashing your head against a wall around this. So I think it's important to understand that you can be right, but you don't have to tell everybody about it. There's a lot of secrecy around all of this. It's like it's be right in the bigger sense, like in the sense of like protecting that which is precious. As at the moment, almost winning the argument is getting in the way of you doing what you need to do. We have another solar plexus one. I do have the ability to make decisions, balance, but yeah, like you could argue or you just decide to move forward, and that's the best thing that you can do. And then we get the heart chakra. I love, but I lose my sense of personal boundaries. Okay, so yeah, this is where there's a risk for you. Like if someone was seductive or something like that, or the people that you love in a family or whatever it is. It's like, how do you can love people in your family even if you feel that the traditions that they're following are not authentic and you need to move away and change those, or that you need to release the karma. But in doing it, you need to make sure you don't get seduced into that. You have the skills to do this, but you're going to need to kind of really focus on those. Okay, let's get you a couple of planetary pairings for some genius that you bring to it, because this is a complex situation. I feel like it's something very close to your heart and possibly to your family or social background, which does make it a tricky energy. So firstly, we have Mars and Jupiter. Yeah, you're meant to take action. Like Mars and Jupiter is a very good, that's very much the chariot energy. It's moving forward to expand. You want to expand. You want something to grow. You want something to develop. And you really do have the ambition to do it and the capacity to do it. The only issue that you have to balance is timing, because Jupiter can expand too much. Mars can go too fast. So I think it's like getting the timing right is important for you. And, oh, Mars, yeah. Yeah, you're here with a mission. You're strong enough for this. You're definitely strong. And when action is necessary, you will do it. And you will push through. You are like this horse, like just moving forward. You are here to act. You're not meant to just fit in with, like, as I say, like you could be born into this rich family and you could just sit and be sort of idle and just enjoy life. But you're born for something more than that. And so you're going to break out of that. You're going to be a bit of an iconoclast, whatever it might be. Action is how you expand. And you are what you do, right? And this is the other thing, actually, because you're in an environment, and whatever this is, where what is being said and what is being done are very different. One of the things that helps you expand, grow, and go towards what you need is that what you do and what you say are actually much more aligned. I always say, like, I pay attention to what people do, not what they say. I think you would be similar, because people can say anything, really. But what do people actually do? That tells you a lot more about it. So that brings you to that authenticity. But gee, you're very courageous. You're very brave. You're very brave. So lastly, we're just going to get a card from the art oracles. So this is an oracle. It's a series of oracles. There's the music oracles and fashion oracles and so forth. This is the art oracle. So this is people from the art world over history. So I thought that would be a good way to finish a reading that's about, how you make an art form of your life. And I don't know all that much about the art world, so it could very well be that we get someone I don't know who it is. If that's the case, I'm just going to pause, read what's in the book to see the background and see how that fits with this. I think it's kind of important. A lot of the time with these decks, I don't really care that much about that because I'm more interested in what the advice is. But I think it does matter for here, because I think what we're getting with these is an example of this sort of energy. It doesn't have to be the way that you do it, but it is an example of this sort of artistic ability. So what do we get for you? All right, I do know this one, Salvador Dali. So he was either the first surrealist or one of the major surrealists. So being able to see, I guess, the absurd and the strange and the getting past the illusion, all of that kind of thing, like the dragonfly over there is part of that. Very quirky, very different way of looking at the world. And created, as I say, I'm not sure whether he was the first, but he was one of the major surrealists and one of the most famous ones that we have. So I think there's something surreal about the environment that you're in, and understanding and being able to navigate that helps you. His advice to you: never make an appearance without controversy. So yeah, I do think there's a part of, it is about timing. I've got to say, because I think if you sort of like went barreling in instantly without understanding the environment, you could just get pushed back and it could actually threaten what you're trying to protect. But there will be a time where you just need to sort of push the dial, be different, all that kind of thing. He says, tap the unconscious and pray it isn't boring. Well, I think for you, it's not going to be boring because there's a lot of action and energy and creative energy there. The other thing I think is interesting, actually, is the three Marses. When we had the Empress, right now you're in the creative energy, and then we're moving to the Emperor, like the action, like putting the idea and the precious energy into action. So that's not boring. That's very, very much chariot energy moving forward. And he says, being Dali is inspiration enough. So being yourself is inspiration enough. What you do, echoes into the world. So this is an interesting energy. I do think it's only going to fit certain people, because I think there is a prescription that you're in an environment where there's a lot of social niceties, but it isn't what it appears, or a family that's very complex and has a lot of karma and generational stuff, or a workplace that has its sort of corporate facing manifesto for what it is, and what actually goes on is very different. There's something like that going on, but you are an agent of change, and you're an agent of the new, and you will protect the precious, and you're very powerful and very courageous and very different. But your Achilles heel, and the thing that you've got to work out, is where there's a seductive energy, and being able to use your skills to know when you can trust something and when you don't. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.